Okay, so I'm Hannah Froling. This is for EDUC 383, Writing Methods and Strategies. This is for striving to thriving writer's lessons and reflection with mentor texts. And today's date is February 22nd of 2025. So this strategy is a memoir or story to tell. So introduction would be map, organize, and discover. So map out what your memoir is going to look like, who's going to be in it, where is going to be the problem, what's going to be the solution, what does it mean to map out a piece like this, like what could the map look like, and organize the pre-writing and setting and the characterization, and like think about the setting and the people. What do they look like? What would the setting look like? And then discover the lead for the memoir and like what does that look like and how do they act. So background knowledge. What is a memoir? What is not essential to the story? And what needs to be in the story? So, activity. Discuss what we know about memoirs, such as the not essential parts and the parts that need to be put in the story. So, okay, so what do I know about memoirs? I believe memoirs are. I'm going to refer back to my text. Um, yeah. So memoir is like retelling a story, like from like a memory. So like say you have a memory and um you're telling it out in like a story or something like this. Some Depending on where you're at, some people will call this a personal narrative. Because I had some college professors call this the personal narrative, which is why I'm not completely familiar with the word memoir. Um, so the non-essential parts would be like if it doesn't continue on with the story. So like if it's not important to the story of like what happened 2 days prior, then don't include what happened 2 days prior. And the important parts would be like put in what you're going to be talking about. Like if you're going to be talking about like the time that you hit a home run, then don't mention the way that you ate 2 days before if that's not going to help you hit the home run. If that's not why you hit the home run in your memory, if that makes sense. So, mentor text. So, the mentor text is Michael's memoir mentor text from page 203 from Striving to Thriving, which is this book right here. So it's the Striving to Thriving Writers Strategies that Jumpstart Writing book. And it's on page 203. I'm not going to fully read it because this is a lot. Um, I read it before I started recording. So, discussion. So, after reading the text, think about the questions. Did it take longer than 5 minutes to read it? Did it have a strong lead? And where was the aha line? So, first off, what is the aha line? The aha line would be like, where was the point of the story where you figured out something vital? Basically, so like an example of this would be like realizing after a breakup that maybe you hung on too long to that person before breaking up with them. And you realize that now because now you're like, why did I stay with them so long? Now that you're like not with them and you can finally evaluate all your life choices. So, and this is in print form, but of course, not the students won't have like the Striving to Thriving um book like I do. So I'd like copy this text and like have it as like a handout so that all the students can have it. And then if they need like an online copy, I'd have to scan it online, which would be a little bit more tech savvy than what I am, so I'd have to learn how to do that. But as it is already in print copy, I would just have to copy this page so that the students could have a page. And because they're not all going to have this textbook and can just flip to the page. So reading this, it took me longer than 5 minutes, but that's probably because I just kept getting distracted. Um, it does have a strong lead. I kind of felt like the strong lead was the mother, but I could have been wrong because he kind of talks a lot about his mom and like about kind of like how she reacts and stuff. And I kind of felt that the aha line was more of like the when the mother said, "Your cocoon's hatched," my mother announced, looking down at me with a face of a gargoyle. I kind of felt it was that one because, like, throughout the story, like, you're kind of hearing about, like, you're hearing some of the cocoons and, like, some of the, like, oh, what are they gonna be? Like, it says, the summer before I entered second grade, my brother and I collected a bunch of cocoons from the field below the hill. The ball-sized cocoons were attached to the milkweed stems, which we snapped off with the crack of a broken pencil. So, like, they gathered up all these cocoons, and so then it's like, and then later it says, Mr. Salinger, your mother is in the office, she growls. I froze. My mother never came to the school. I gulped and followed the sister to the office to find my brother and mother already there. So sister isn't like his actual like sister sibling sister. Um, that is just because his school is St. Gabriel's Elementary School, so it's like a religious school. So it's probably run by like nuns and stuff. So he's like, something must have gone wrong for his mom to have come in, but then it was just like, oh, the cocoon's just hatched. So if this was like in a full class setting, we would write down several suggestions for where the aha line was and like write them down and work on the class to kind of just pick one of them. So we'd all like, so if we all have different aha lines and like the different spots, then we'd write them down on the board. And then we, as a class, would work together to try and figure out which one we felt was the strongest. So there were two other activities included in this as well to help them work on like their writing a little bit for the memoir, like the retelling part, I guess. So it would be the pre-write activity. So you would pair the students up with people you know they would share with each other. So you would have to know who your students like share with comfortably because it is like retelling a memory that they have. If they're not comfortable with the person that they're sharing with, they're not going to want to share. So you would want to have each pair share the story, and the one not telling the story is listening for the aha line. And when they think they have the line, write it at the top of the paper. But they're not to write the aha line from their own story. This is like from their partner story. So like if you hear the aha line from their partner story, then they write down that, not the aha line from their story. And then after that, we'll go into concept maps, which these all kind of look different depending on where you're from. So concept maps. This is kind of the activity that I would put, but I would definitely kind of spend like little bit longer on them because concept maps alone can take up a lot of time. So I think I would edit this a little bit because like the drawing part should probably take longer than 3 minutes. So, but for this, we'll keep it. So the concept maps activity would be so they would have 3 minutes to draw a picture, map, or any other type of representation from their story. And then once they kind of have that, they can start to answer the questions under the drawing. So like underneath the drawing, they'd have all this writing space. So they would answer the following questions: the where did it take place, the time of the year, day, how much time has passed in the story, what was the light source, what was under their feet, what was the weather or the temperature, what were the background noises, smell, what didn't happen that could have, what could have happened during the same time that but it moves whether it moves along with the story or not. Who or what else witnessed this event, like your sibling, a lamp, your dog. Then in a different color, answering the next set of questions, which is like what was the character wearing, the color of the hat. If you were compared to an animal, what would it be? Compare the internal feelings to a force of nature. List 3 words for that force of nature. What sounds do they make? What did the character do with their hands, feet? What did they do that was a surprise? List 2 strong verbs that describe how their character moved. Spring or explode rather than walk or run. What could have what could they have done differently compared character's face to something else, and what didn't they do but could have, and then kind of share out at the end. So it definitely take a little bit longer on this activity. So this activity would take a little bit longer, especially with the amount of questions to answer at the bottom. So I'd probably, I don't know, maybe I'd spend a day on concept maps. Because that, it can really help with the writing, but it definitely takes up a lot of time. Um, so